Hello everybody, and yes, I know I said I was going to stream last night, and I talked to you the other day and it didn't happen. Apologies to any of you who were waiting. We had a couple of difficulties, so going straight into it, too much coffee. Let me recap. Chester had given me a challenge, or we were going to play test one of the scenario challenges that he designed. It was Kai versus Vlad. I kind of worked out some of the stuff going on. The cards have tweaked slightly, and I'll probably redo that, or at least put those in place. And then he hadn't had time to do a deck, but I'd had time to get the new cards that he said we wanted to use into Lackey, and we did a few technical things. We had a chat, so I didn't do anything last night. And apologies to anybody who was expecting that. The game is slated for next Tuesday, so hopefully you'll be able to tap into that. I'm going to record it and put it up. And I thought I kind of owed people a little apology for not doing that particular stream. And then if you've followed any of the Facebook stuff recently, you've had Assault on Steel City and the tournament there, and there's lots of conversations about decks and other things, and people have requested to do some of them. People have requested tournament reviews and other things. Yes, I will do those. They're a little more complicated to dig out than what I've got for you today, and I haven't held this back, but kind of saved it for the right occasion, maybe, and maybe it's a good way of bribing you into continuing to listen to me when I said I'm going to stream and I didn't, and I kind of owe you an apology. So I thought I would do this and share this. I've kind of already done it, but I'll explain that as I go along. And this for me is something that's a little new in the respect of, I'm going to probably stick my hand up here and take credit for it, having designed it and come up with it. I haven't seen it anywhere else. And by haven't seen it anywhere else, the pure crux of the matter, the pure combo, the pure design, I haven't seen anywhere else. You can see decks and oh yeah, well, you're using that mech instead of that mech, and in essence it's still the same thing. You know, Davian Pilot is still the same if you swap the Zeus out and put something else in, or you ban the Night Sky and they put a Chameleon in instead, or something like that. It's still, at heart, the essence of it is still Davian Pilot or Dash Wolf or whatever else it is. Okay, but I haven't seen the essence of this deck anywhere else, although I did run a variant of it a few weeks back, and I will explain that. Okay, so this is a Steel Viper deck. Is it tournament worthy? Probably not. Is it worthy of Gustav Olsson's kitchen table? Yes, more than that. It's probably a bit good for Gustav's table, but I'm not quite sure that it would win a tournament. It is difficult to beat. It's very difficult to beat when played very well, and if you can pull off the things, then it does pose a lot of questions of your opponents. I played against Chester a few weeks ago, did well, and the other time I've played it within the recent times was in a game against Luca Mizzi on Lackey. And I don't think he'd seen anything like this before, and ended up steel talonsing his own unit to save it from combat, because he worked out what was going to happen to it. It was a smart move on his part, but ultimately I ended up winning that game. And although I had to play conservatively, he didn't have a great start, I didn't have a great start. He wins, I just got on with it. I came out on top. which is quite nice. So here it is. Okay, it's a Steel Viper deck, and here's the big card list. Okay, as you can see, there are Battle Cobra Bs. There are a number of 2, 3 and 4 cost units in here, and as the game develops, you put a 2 cost out, you put a 3 cost out, you put a 4 cost out, and build your resources up, and then you put a 2 and a 3, and maybe another, or a 4 and another resource, and then 2 3s, and then a 3 and a 2, and a 3 and a 3 and a 3 and a 4, and a 4 and a 4. So as your resources build up, there is a combination of 2, 3 and 4 cost units that you can easily put onto the table and get board presence. Possibly why it's not quite tournament level is because at that point in time you probably have expected your opponent to have emptied his entire deck of free deploy units and start spanking you with Sandhurst, or have half your resources killed by a wolf hunter or other things. But once it gets over that little initial blip, hump, call it what you want, it holds its own very well, and I'll show you how it holds its own. So here's the deck list, and we'll start with the resources. There are 9 assemblies. Let's just pull this out. Okay, so I have 9 assembly here. I have 7 tactics. I have 2 think tanks and 2 war funds and 2 black market connections. Okay, so honestly, you could probably drop a think tank. You could probably drop 2, to be honest. Sometimes it's nice to play with logistics or other things. You could tweak the think tanks. You might argue that you can probably drop an assembly and a tactics. That's 16. That's okay. But because this isn't pumping out 2 cost units every turn, like say a Davian Swarm or something other like that, 14 resources is the absolute minimum I'd go personally. The chances of getting a double mulligan are quite high. If you go back to Kevin Michaels' deck, it's Steel City, he lost the first game basically because he didn't draw a resource, and he was running 13 resources, or basic ones. And I personally don't include war funds in there because war funds cost 1, which means you have to pay for it. So if you want to tweak this, you could drop a support and a tactics maybe. You could drop a think tank or 2 if you want. I wouldn't go below 16 because the idea is that you put a resource out and a mech and a resource out and a mech and a resource out and a mech until you get to 5 resources. Then you can, or 4 maybe, but you can start pumping out 2, 3 and 4 cost units. And in order to do that, you need the resources. And if you haven't got them because it's quite short in your deck, then you will struggle a little. So you can cut the resources a touch, but if you cut them too much, you're actually cutting off your own supply lines, so to speak. Okay, so Steel Viper deck, it runs A and T, which is quite lean and efficient, especially if you compare it with something like the Jump Wolf deck that I did a little while back, where it ran A, M and T. Okay, our unit base is Steel Viper based in that respect, or primarily not so much Steel Viper but Crusade based. So we have 5 Battle Cobra Bs. They're a 3 cost. They have a big buyout in 3A and 3T, and a 153 with overheat 3+2, and they have a very nice long range 2. 2 PPCs, reminding me quite a lot of the Pumas. Okay. And we have 4 of the slightly more expensive Battle Cobra Primes. Again, they're 1/5s. This one has 4 straight damage with an overheat of 1+1, so you can get 5, and another long range on that. This one costs 4 with 3A and 2T buyouts. So you can see they're quite similar. You can get 5 out of both of these. I've got more of the Battle Cobra Bs purely because it's cheaper. Dasher Prime, the ubiquitous, wonderful Dasher Prime. I've got 5 of these in here. You could tweak this. You could drop a higher cost unit and put 6 Dasher Primes in. I probably should, to be honest. It's a 023-22A, and this is the only reason that we are running more assemblies than we are tactics. So maybe if you're going to tweak the resources, you drop an assembly first, because after that the other mechs of the Hankyus and the Battle Cobras are both A and T. So maybe I should have one less of one of these 4-cost units and an additional Dasher. Probably a good idea. Which unit it is, you can choose. I like all of them reasonably well. The Hankyu Prime I will do next. 0.4, where are we? 0.43, but it has ECM, which is quite nice. 3 cost, 3A, 3T, and it jumps quite a nice addition to this deck, and I'll explain why in a few seconds. And finally, the Hankyu C, its bigger brother, a 0.44, so you get 4 damage for 4 costs straight out, great. But you've also got the jump again, but you've got overheat 3+2, so you can get 6 damage out of this, and that's quite impressive. And also note that with the overheat 3+2, you can overheat it once for 6, and provided it gets no additional damage, it survives. So this thing can kill and improve construction facilities on its own, and survive. And at that point, yes, it is a hurting puppy because it has 1 structure left. But if you can keep it there and use the overheat again to deal another 6 damage, that's actually 4 cost for 12 damage before the mech explodes. And a couple of turns is probably viable for most units on the board. So I actually find it's quite a good damage dealer. You get a lot of damage out of this for 4 resources. And it's fast as well. Okay, and there's a reason for this being in the deck. Okay, this is a Steel Viper deck, and therefore we've got 1 Vipers more. If you ever get the chance to see the original picture, it's so much better than this orange thing, for want of a better phrase. And this is the finisher for the game if you need it. Not very often you need it, but when you do, it pays dividends. Okay. The other Steel Viper mission in the deck is Coup de Grace. Choose an opposing unit, double the number of damage counters you put on that unit when resolving combat damage. So, armor first, structure second. So if we take our Hankyu C, does 4 damage. If I overheat it for 2 more, it does 6 damage. Okay, so if we then look at a Zeus, for example, and this is purely an example, this is the first thing that popped into my head. This has 2 armor. So it's got 2 armor and I'm doing 6 damage to it. It takes 4 structure, and it has 7 structure in total, so it survives. Coup de Grace doubles the 4 structure counters I put on it to 8 counters, which means it dies. Okay, so the lesser the armour and the more damage you do, the bigger the bonus. So our little Hankyu friend here, he's actually quite good at dealing with big units, because you've got a big load of damage when you coup de grace them. You could easily drop this. I just like it. I think it's fun. I think nobody expects it playing against a Steel Viper deck. Everybody expects Vipers more. Fine. But I like this. This is another way of dealing with big things. This is another, not quite get out of jail card, but it gives you options. It's a bit like Kevin Michael in Steel City had 1 accidental collision in his deck. And he had the 1 accidental collision in his deck to deal with big mech decks that pull out, Mad Cats and things like that. It's that kind of card, and I like it. I think it's a good addition to any Steel Viper deck. always worth a slot, and also another way of guaranteeing a kill in a lot of cases, because you're over damaging it or over killing a unit. If you want to make sure it's going to die, this is one of the ways to do it. So those are the missions, apart from the other Crusade mission here that's been included, which is falsified maps. And falsified maps is very popular and came in 1999 with the falsified maps Rocky Gorge combo, where falsified map says play only when you're being attacked, search your stockpile for any terrain card and put it into play activated in the region containing the target. Shuffle your stockpile. So basically it allows you to put a terrain card into play for free. And what happened is Tom Smith used it to put Rocky Gorges down all over the place. Okay, I understand how it works, but I personally don't like the subscription where you can declare your current Rocky Gorge, play falsified maps, add another Rocky Gorge which removes the first one, and then declaring another 2 damage from that, doing 4 damage to everything. I personally think it needs to be in play at the end of the mission phase, and if you false maps over the top of it, it should be 2 damage one way or the other. It's just one of those quirks of the game, so I don't subscribe to that. But this deck does not run Rocky Gorge. This deck runs a mech killer mission that's not 2 damage to everything, which is probably more a vehicle killer than anything else. It runs Deep Lake. Okay. Deep Lake, 3-cost mission, so one of the more 3-cost terrain, sorry, one of the more expensive ones. And it says play Deep Lake on one of your regions. Activating Deep Lake scraps all other terrain cards in the region, as standard with any terrain card. Mechs do not receive overheat damage. Well, that's quite nice, because I've got Battle Cobra B with an overheat of 3-2, Battle Cobra Prime with an overheat 1-1, and I've got my Hankyu C with an overheat 3+2. So them not receiving damage when they overheat is quite nice. At the end of the missions phase, scrap each mech that received 3 or more structure damage. Okay, so this is any mech. Any mech that receives 3 or more structure damage. Okay, so my coup de grace is quite nice, but my Deep Lake, it just allows me to deliver the kind of hammer blow. So let's have another look at this. Let's have a look at a Man of War, and I'm just gonna pick the C because it's ridiculously costed. Okay, it's a 379. Okay, so if it receives 3 structure damage. So if I go back to my Hankyu C, 4 damage base, overheat +2, if I accept that my Hankyu C is going to die horribly, and I've got Deep Lake in play, and my opponent attacks with this Man of War, I can overheat the Hankyu for 6 damage, 3 armor. Off that 6 leaves 3 structure damage under Deep Lake. Under Deep Lake, which says 3 or more structure damage. This 14-cost Man of War C is killed by a 4-cost Hankyu C because it takes 3 structure. Okay. If you need to finish it off because you can only do 2 structure, coup de grace can get you there. But invariably I find I don't need that, because a lot of the stuff coming over the other side of the table has at least 1 armor. If it's got 1 armor, then my Battle Cobra B, or 2 armor, my Battle Cobra B overheats for 5. So 2 cost, the 2 armored Zeus, bang, dies under Deep Lake, because I can attribute 3 structure damage to it. Battle Cobra Prime, overheat it for another 5. 2 armor stuff, dies horribly. You don't see much in the way of 3 armor stuff, but if you get it, Hankyu Prime can kill them. Okay, if it's got no armor, then a Hankyu C or my Dasher can kill them. So Deep Lake, under these circumstances, is quite a good card to surprise your opponent and kill their units. Okay, So that's quite nice. That allows you to trade preferably, or on maybe on your terms, especially the first time that you pull falsified maps and play Deep Lake. That's what you would prefer to do. Maybe the think tank in here, this deck should be a logistics, and therefore you can restock your Deep Lake if you've got falsified maps in your hand, because playing maps saves you the 3 resources to play the terrain. So that's what you're aiming for. Okay. Why are the 3 costs of each? Because there are 3 regions. Your patrol region, your stockpile, and your command region. All of those could be protected. 3 combinations of Deep Lake and false maps to put them out. But also to increase your chances. You should get one of them, whether it's Deep Lake or false maps, in the first 10 cards. Because there's 3 Deep Lake, 3 false maps, 6 copies, 60 card deck. So you should be able to get one by about turn 4 or 5. And at that point you're in a position to spring it or use it. So this allows you to trade favourably, but what it doesn't do is keep your units alive. It allows you to trade efficiently because you've got low cost units that are able to deal more damage to more cost units and trade, because everything that takes 3 structure is going to die. Now, this is where it gets to the fun bit. Alongside Deep Lake, we have quick salvage operation. Okay, play only when blocking. So this is quite a defensive deck to start off with. You sit, okay, if you've got a chance you can attack, but if you really want the other guy to come to you because the cards that you do, or your main game-changing cards, false maps into Deep Lake, or this one, quick salvage, are defensive ones because they're play when blocking or when you're attacked. Okay, play only when blocking. After the mission, if any attacking units were scrapped during the battle, oh dear, we've got Deep Lake down, we only need to do 3 structures to kill them, you may put one of them into play in your patrol region, activated, so it's ready, with a number of damage counters equal to 1 less than its structure. So it's only got 1 structure left. So if it was that man of war, it would have 6 structure counters of damage on it out of the 7. But it's still on the table. And this goes back to what I was saying about the Hankyu Prime. If you overheat it, it's got 1 structure left. And if you can keep it alive and overheat it again, you can get another 6 out of it. So it's the same with that attacking principle. If I can keep it on 1 structure and then use it something else, then I'm doing quite well. I'm there to get board presence, to get mech advantage and steal and win the game. Okay. So you would play quick salvage operation, and then you would get back a unit, and then you put that in the patrol region, so if your opponent attacks again, it can get blocked. And that's what happened to Luca. He attacked, I think he attacked with a Black Lana A, the AT one, I think it's the A, yes, and a Berserk Elemental and a few other things. So I killed the Elemental and quick salvaged it, because quick salvage says units, so I had the battle armor, thank you. And then the next time he attacked, I used the Berserk to kill the Black Ladder and quick salvage the Black Ladder, which then blocked the next attack. Which is quite mean of me. Which is why I was saying it's quite hard to play against, because whatever you attack with, it kind of recycles that, throws it back at you, or uses it to block your next thing, and then you've still got to deal with what else is on the rest of the table. So that's the main principle. You play false maps, Deep Lake, and if you've got them in hand, because these have got jump, you can jump both Hankyus. So you can jump both Hankyus, play false map, Deep Lake, and then you play quick salvage and kill something. Okay. Now you might be thinking, well, 3 quick salvages. Not sure about that. Maybe I need another one. Yeah, maybe. Maybe you go 4 quick salvages, drop an assembly, drop a think tank, and put another dasher in. Quite reasonable. Okay. The other card that I haven't mentioned, which is great for this deck, absolutely great for this deck, is Perigard. Perigard, Steel Viper, unique, 2, 3T. Note that at one point, if you were playing League, stroke TCG, stroke Revival, this was mislabeled as 2, 3P in the spreadsheet, the data file, not on the card. One of those many errors in that version of the game. And this says tap. Put a mission card from your scrap heap into your hand. Use this during your missions phase, but not during a mission. Oh, great. So once you've slapped your false maps down on stockpile, for saying, you can tap Perigard and go and pull your false maps back in order to use it on something else. Or if he attacks, you quick salvage it, you then tap Perigard and get your quick salvage back, etc, etc. So there are options to recycle your missions here. He's very, very useful. Okay, you can't do that so much on your opponent's turn, but you do it on your turn. And that allows you to recycle your quick salvages and your false maps until you get your deep lakes everywhere. And if anything else ends up in the scrap heap, like your coup de grace for that big unit, if you haven't got maps out, or lake, or you want to keep your Vipers more, then you can go and pull them back, etc, etc. The War Funds allows us to pull Black Market for anything else we want. We might even Black Mark. It's a nice move to Black Market for Perigard to then tap him straight away and get a resource, get a mission that you were going to get regardless. And there you go. That is the Steel Viper Deep Lake deck. Because of the kind of picture on Deep Lake, you've got this pilot trying falling down or in some sort of cockpit getting sucked away. I kind of tentatively named the deck A Long Way Down. Because you very often get a long way down your stockpile playing against it, because it tends to have a recycling kind of effect with reusing your opponent's units against them. Okay. Now, I did say I was going to run another version of the deck, and here it is. This is the dual stockpile version. And I ran the dual stockpile version. If you go back through the videos I recorded and put on YouTube, it was, let me just check, game 58 or video 58, where I played Chester. We were playing the dual stockpile, and this is the dual stockpile variant. And for those of you that are interested in seeing me pull off the combo, which I admit I did then to show the combo off, even though I'd probably comfortably won the game at that point, it's on about 45 minutes into the match. Okay, so this keeps the majority of the setup. Note, with dual stockpile you have a resource deck. Here it is: 9 assembly, 8 tactics, 4 war funds, 2 black markets, 1 think tank. That's probably closer to what I've just modified the deck to. And we still have 4 quick salvage, we have 3 deep lake, 3 false maps. We have an accidental collision because it's a bucket of fun, but it could easily be any other mission you like. It could be a forged mission order, it could be a second Viper's Maw or coup de grace, it could be anything, it could be a push in the envelope, whatever else. Okay. And in dual stockpile, I went with 6 Steel Viper R&D teams. This card in dual stockpile is crazy. For forecast, tap, draw a card, you make an additional deployment this turn. So it gives you a draw and a deployment each turn. One of those is more than enough, 2 of those is just crazy. And this is why we didn't skimp on the resources so much, because the additional resources are going to get thrown out, because along with our 6 Han-QCs and our 6 Han-Q Primes and our 5 Battle Cobra Bs and Battle Cobra Primes, Why not 6 of those? Well, actually, because they're moderate, whereas the Hankyus are fast. We actually run 3 crossbows, 3 Battle Cobra A's, a coup de grace, a Viper's Maw, and a Peregrine. I've dropped the dashers in this version of the deck, mainly to allow us to put in the more chunkier crossbow A's and the Battle Cobra A's. You've got total grounds given the crossbow and the Battle Cobra to say, do you know what, I don't want an accidental collision. I would very, very much like an unopposed in there. Fine. Makes total sense. And then, as ever, we've got Coup de Grace, Viper's Maw, and our Mission Engine Recycler in Perigard alongside the Black Market. You could tweak that if you wanted. You could maybe drop a Battle Cobra or 2 out of here, maybe a Hankyu or 2, put some dashes in if you wanted. I think I went against that because of the dasher's nice, but given the fact that your opponent has got a guaranteed 24 resources and can pull one, because they can draw from the resource deck or the stockpile at any point in time, early resource denial isn't really possible. So I made a decision. I dropped the dashers. It worked out quite well. I think my plan was resource, kind of steal Viper, tap, draw, put something else out, put a unit out, and try and boost things that way. Or because you can draw from the resource deck wherever you want, provided you've got a 3-cost Hankyu Prime or a 3-cost Battle Cobra Prime, and there are 11 there out of 48. Then you can just go resource, put a counter on it, resource, out with a 3-cost resource, steal Viper team, draw a card, resource, and you've got 5 resources on the table and a blocker. And then you can go and play a 2-cost, a 3-cost, or even a 5-cost and a resource and 2 3s or 3s and 4s. And as soon as you get that resource base on the table, you can start throwing out 3 and 4 and 5-cost units quite quickly. So that's why there are no dashers in this variation of the deck, because you can pull the resources that you need early on. Okay, but it's the same principle. Deliver the false maps to drop the deep lake, kill something, quick salvage to recycle it, block with that, or because it stays on the table, it's your mech. I mean, you can even heal it up. I mean, you don't go and do something crazy like try and fool a mech rotation out of it. Scrap it when it's revealed 2 construction counters above the cost. You repair all damage to 1 mech. It's a little on the extreme side. It's a bit too janky. It's a bit too combo-y. Nothing to stop you doing it. You could do it with dashers and elementals and berserkers killing stuff, and then quick salvaging them, and then going into mech rotation to heal up what you've salvaged. But it also depends on what you're salvaging and depending on what your opponent's playing. And the more competitive the deck, the less likely the thing you're going to salvage is going to be a big honking mech. More likely to be something in the 2-cost 1/6 inner sphere medium slow category. And that isn't going to quite cut the game. Whereas if it's a Takina Prime or a Daishi that they've fooled into play with Diamond's Will or something or other, then grabbing that is obviously going to annoy them, but it's going to put you in a good position. So don't try and go with that. I mean, if you want to try it, go with it and have fun with it if you can pull it off. But no, just use your quick salvages to recycle their units. Use Perigard to recycle their quick salvages, so you're in a constant churn of blockers and new units onto the table until you get dominance, and then you just go and beat them up. So let's just go back to the original one. We will show you it tiled. Here we go. Five Bs, 4 A's, 5 dashes, 5 hanky C's, 5 hanky primes, coup de grace, 3 false maps, 4 quick salvages and a Viper's Maw, 2 black markets, 3 deep lakes, 1 Perigard, 8 assemblies, 7 tactics, a think tank and 4 war funds, something like that. Yeah, there we go. And that is a long way down. Try it. Have some fun with it. As I said, if on an average, and by average I mean not tournament standard deck, but then not some of the kitchen table or whatever. On a decent deck, it will give most things a damn good run for its money. If it doesn't beat them, it will give them a hell of a good game. It's hard to play against because there's a lot of ways for you to use a unit, and it's a lot of ways to recycle that and play it against you. And I don't think, and if you come up with an idea, please tell me. Apart from stopping the missions happening, there's not a great deal of not many great ways of stopping it. You might say that not strategic bombardment, desk commando sabotage in Crusade. This is the 2 cost to everything on the board. 2 structure damage to each opposing unit. Deals with the fact that you've recycled one of their units with a mission card. But you're paying 4 cost to kill the unit and they have used 1 mission. It's a card for a card. Maybe you do some extra damage. Yeah, fine, fair enough. But it's not the easiest thing to do because even on 1 structure, that mech deals its damage again. Which is the art of trading. But then that's another stream. So yes, there you go. A long way down. Try it. See how you go. Have fun with it. I've enjoyed it. I've loved it. I've never played against it. I'm quite happy I've never played against it, to be honest. There might be slightly better tactics with it. You might decide that some sort of AoE type affair with Deep Lake, something like carpet bombing, for example, which does 2 to everything, is a good way of dealing damage. Fine. But you're probably going to sacrifice your quick salvage for it or something. So, yeah. Or utilise Deep Lake in a slightly different way. You could treachery into Deep Lake. Treachery, which means your opponent must attack. The problem with that is it's not necessarily a group. It's just they must attack. It's a trap. It's a trap, which is very costly to get them because it's 2 counters for each unit. So trying to pull something off where Deep Lake alongside some AoE type damage, it kills a group because you've got it's a trap, is very hard to do. By all means, look at it and try it. I think it's too complicated. I like this version which trades 1 for 1 and then recycles it, and can trade 1 for 1 and recycle that again until you've got the presence that you want. It's a bit of a grind your opponent down type strategy, but it does work and have fun. Anyway, I've talked enough about this. As I said, try it. Hope you enjoy it. If you've got any ideas, give me some feedback, etc., etc. And let me know how it goes and whether you like it or not. So there you go. There's my apology for missing last night. And I will see you on another day for another stream next Tuesday. Definitely going to do some gameplay with Chester's scenario, and then something probably the following Tuesday, and I'm going to do Project W. I want to write some notes for Project W to put them down so I keep track of myself, because you've probably noticed I can talk for ages, and I need something. I feel I need a sort of signpost stroke direction in order to get from A to B without travelling around the houses and taking a convoluted route. So I want to do that before I do Project W, or at least the introduction to Project W. I think I made a slip the other day, and if not, I'll admit it today. Project W is 50 cards designed to be added to the game without any restrictions or impacts to the normal card pool. Which makes it easy to add, and you don't have to use them. Okay, so what I will probably do 3 streams. This is what I wanted to achieve with Project W. This is the normal stuff with Project W, and this is the extreme stuff with Project W, and do them in 3 streams on that. But I want to get that sorted out and kind of structured first. So I will see you on another day for another stream, another time, at some point in the future, at least next week, and depending on how things go, when I get some other things written out and ready and prepped. But until then, look after yourself, take care, don't catch what I've had, it's not nice, and watch out, big bad world out there.